Welcome to Shelf Life from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I look back at games I previously covered about 6 months ago and let you know whether they stayed in my collection. Today we're looking back at games I covered at the end of last year, December 2021. There were only 6 of them because I do a lot of end of the year videos. So let's get right into that quicker than normal list and see which of them had shelf life. So our first matchup is Fireteam 0 versus Undaunted with the Solo Reinforcements expansion. Fireteam 0 is a miniature tactical game with one-off play. They do have sort of connected scenarios, but it's not technically a campaign mode. And I often compare it to Gears of War. It has somewhat similar gameplay. You're going around exploring different clues while ever spawning enemies harry your steps, and you have card-based play to attack them and defend yourself and use special abilities. And I think the card play is great. The game is very tense. It has this dice-based combat system, but I didn't end up wanting to keep it. Kind of like Gears of War, it is very much on the hard side and sometimes the frustrating side. The dice luck can totally make or break you. You can die in a single attack and lose the game suddenly, or just have bad cards that totally take away things without any recourse. So still a very solid, well-done design, but for a quick one-off tactical game, I'd much rather play something like Cthulhu Death May Die or even Bloodborne. And then on the other side, we have Undaunted with the Reinforcements expansion. This allows solo play for both the North Africa and Normandy box sets. And this is a bit of a deck builder, although it's really a tactical skirmish game. You're using cards to move your units around on the maps to try to control points, shoot each other. In the North Africa standalone set, they also have tanks you can ride around in. And I do really like this one, but it ended up being harder to get to the table for competitive play than some other skirmish games I have, like Super Fantasy Brawl. And I ended up not enjoying the new Atoma that much. They made the game more streamlined, which I totally appreciate, but in so doing, they made the Atoma cheat and also do things that are kind of illogical and like made some rules up to make the illogic work. So it took a game that I really enjoy for its core play and sort of changed it up some. Now, full disclosure, I am biased because I made my own solo mode for this, so it was probably going to be a impossible sell for me to like the official Atoma anyway because of that. But either way, I just ended up not liking the official solo that much. And that being soured and me not really getting to play it much for competitive ended up making this a call as well. So that's a double call for the first matchup. The next matchup is Dune House Secrets versus Lost Ruins of Arnak with the Expedition Leaders expansion. And Dune I didn't do a playthrough of, so I don't really have any footage for you, but this was a Portal game in the detective series where you're supposedly solving mysteries. They have improved it since I reviewed it, in that now there actually are questions that force you to show you have solved the mystery. But if you didn't see my review, I think this is one of the worst games of last year. I think it really just took away all the mystery of the detective series, and there wasn't that much in the box. And so not much to say for this one, definitely a call. And as for Lost Ruins of Arnak, this is one of my favorite Euros of recent years. I really enjoyed the core game, and I think the Expedition Leaders expansion is excellent, especially if you've played the game a bunch and want some more variety. It gives you different characters you try with, each with their own unique cards and some unique mechanics, and I think those are really interesting. I think it also makes solo more varied, which I appreciate. And they added some things in both with this expansion and with free PnP and app-based stuff to make the solo better balanced, so address a lot of my concerns. So I really think this is a fantastic game, especially if you do some of the expansion content. But as much as I enjoy it, Peter likes it even more, so he asked if he could keep it, and I said yes. So unfortunately, this is, I guess, technically a call because it's staying at Peter's house, although I would be happy to play it. So that is another double call, 2 in a row. No games kept out of 6 so far. And our final matchup pits the Seventh Continent versus Merchants of the Dark Road. Seventh Continent is one of my favorite adventure games. Now, I fully admit that I only play on the easy settings that lets you come back to life after you die, because the game is incredibly punishing, and if you die, you have to go through so much toil and, backtracking and repetition to get to the same place you were. So that can be very frustrating. But I love the core action mechanic where you draw like as many cards as you want, and you're looking for successes so you can tire yourself out. I think the way you explore around on the map and find secrets, and even when you don't go in the right way, you kind of like learn more about your surroundings. I think all of that is super cool. Now, I will say I think Seventh Citadel, the follow-up, is going to be better. They took away some of the most awkward aspects of the Seventh Continent, but there's still one I love. Now, technically, this is Jerry's game, and he keeps saying he won't trade me for it, but I'm just keeping it at my house indefinitely until he remembers that I have it. So I'm going to call it a keep, although technically I guess you could say that it's not really mine and it could go away. And finally, there's Merchants of the Dark Road. This is a competitive Euro of mercantilism, getting resources or goods and then selling them for a profit that can also be played solo. And unlike Lost Ruins of Arnak, this is one that I did not enjoy that much. It felt very repetitive in play. It felt like you were doing the exact same stuff every game, and even within the same game, it would feel repetitive. So there really wasn't much to make me want to come back here and try out different strategies. There didn't really seem to be too many different strategies. The core gameplay is fine. They have sort of like a rondel of actions, and then you're trying to like fit items on your board and like make these little journeys, and then you kind of like jump on top of each other's journeys, so you can kind of have some competitive like following in that way. But yeah, it's not that great of a game, not one I really recommend, so this is a cull. So there you go, one of the bloodiest lists recently. Only one game kept out of 6, and even that one is technically my friend's game, so it could be seen as a 0 out of 6 keep. But let's get to the contest entries, see which game surprised you the most, and who our big winner is. So in Group 1, which was Fireteam 0 versus Undaunted, the highest vote getter by far was Undaunted. 60% of people thought I was going to keep that, which unfortunately messed them up since I did not. The next highest result was 19%, correctly guessing that I called them both. Next was kept them both at 14%, and Fireteam 0 only came away with 7% saying I would keep that by itself. Then looking at Group 2, Lost Ruins of Arnak was the powerhouse here. 63% of people thought I would keep it by itself, but unfortunately that was wrong. 22% next with called them both, the second vote getter again. 12% said I would keep them both, and only 3%, just 3 people, said I would keep Dune House Secrets by itself. And finally, Group 3, called them both, got the highest votes. Unfortunately, it was wrong this time, 41%. The Seventh Continent, the correct answer, was next with 23%, basically tied with Merchants of the Dark Road at 22%, and kept them both got 14%. And we had several people who picked 5 out of 6 games right, only got 1 of them wrong. Stephen Colgrave, Andrew Luxton Riley, Charlie Taft, Brian Busha, Brandon Hum, Phil Hull, Jorge Garcia, Dan Balaz, Lars Bellicum, Darren LaCour, Roger Stone, AJ Murray, and Daniel Lagrada. And nobody got all 6 of them right in their final answer. There were actually a couple people who had all 6 of them right, but then they entered the contest again, and I always use the the latest entries to determine who the winner is. So these are our possibles. Phil and Jorge decided not to be entered in the contest, and Steven, Charlie, Brian, and Brandon are Patreon supporters, so they get a double entry. So we've got numbers 1 through 15 here. I'm going to roll a 20-sided die, and if we get a 16 through 20, I'll just roll again. So here we go! It's a 10, which means our winner this month is Dan Balaz. So Dan, I'll be emailing you to find out which game you want. And a big thank you to everyone who entered the contest, everyone who is watching. Don't forget you can enter the next month's contest through the link in the video description right now, and we'll see you next month for more Shelf Life.